So Konami released the ban list early. Just got home, I'm gonna take a look. What? Agrippane's banned? Hey guys, it's Tom Box. Welcome to MST.TV's Banlist Damage Report, where we'll look into each and every one of the decks available in the current format, and we are going to rate them and judge them based on whether or not their combo are still available, and which decks were severely affected and which were the winners of this entire ban list. And rather than look through a list like this, because we've seen it all already, let's just look at all of it once, like MST.TV style. Okay, so we've got, in terms of this list, we'll go through this very quickly. You have Nightmare Mermaid, Agrippane, both of which are being banned, affecting the Guard Dragon combo, and well, basically both of these were combo based decks that are getting affected, and of course the Orcust combo where you just go into Mermaid. Sky Striker took a slight hit on the Widow Anchor and nothing else. And everything else is just addition to the entire game. We have double up of Dark Arm Dragon. Can we play Teledad? No, because we don't have the E-Tellies. E-Telly's still at 1. And everything else has moved up to 3, starting with the most interesting card of them all. Went straight from ban, we have a Super Rejuvenation. Super Rejuvenation is going up to 3, which is quite interesting. And we have El Shaddai Construct. Free My Bay Construct. Seems like Konami has listened to you. In fact, most of the cards on this list, it seems like all these decks have served their time and they're all getting released all at once. So between the, if you committed a crime during that time of I guess pre-2014 or so, all your stuff is coming back, except one guy kind of tagged along, kind of hid behind Stratos, which was malicious. So we have El Shaddai Construct, Super Rejuve, we have Chaos Emperor Dragon, we have Aether, the Heavenly Monarch. Unfortunately for you Monarch players, Pantheism is still at 1. Your draw card is still kind of hindered, and hiding under Stratos' wings we have Malicious, and we have Stratos of course, Inzektor Dragonfly, where Inzektor did not see play even though Dragonfly went to 2. Sure, it went to 2, now you're going to 3. Is that going to affect the deck a lot? I'm not too sure if it actually does, but another very scary card we have to look at is Royal Tribute. I hate to say it, but I know this is definitely going to make a lot of Gravekeeper decks come back, because it is basically Trickstar hand loop all over again. And the worst part is everything in the graveyard is not going to be able to dig itself out easily. Although if you ditch a bunch of dangers, especially if you ditch a Thunderbird and if you ditch a Bigfoot, then that's fine, because you get to rip your opponent's board apart, blow up their Necro Rally and their set monster if they set a monster. Usually they do. Anyways, let's go into the damage report. Let's start with the first deck of them all, Sky Striker. Okay, Sky Strikers, they lost 2 copies of Widow Anchor and they're going to refill it with something. They either put more Floodgates into their deck, or they can play other spells for negation, or they can play more Shark Cannon for a bit more aggression, stealing your opponent's monsters and linking them up into things that can shorten the game down. Preferably maybe go into Utopia Double a bit more and then just go for the OTK. But playstyle shift, because there is a lack of Widow Anchors, you're not going to see more than 1 Widow Anchor per turn unless it's the opening turn where you can potentially see 2 Widow Anchor activation, one from the activation of Widow Anchor for the first one, and the other one coming from a Kagari that's reattaching it. You're never going to see anything other than that. You're not going to see 2 in 1 turn, because if they're using multi-roll, they're resetting it, and they have to be very careful if they multi-roll the Widow Anchor now, because it's going to get banished, and then there's going to be no anchors left. And Widow Anchor was one of the main ways that Sky Strikers interacted with their opponents, so they have to be a bit more conservative, and they have to be, well, it's going to be harder for them to make bigger plays, like double Widow Anchor, take your monsters and attack for game. That's going to be harder. So for my final remarks, I guess Widow Anchor you can consider as like now it's once per turn, because it's very difficult for them to play 2 Widow Anchors in 1 turn. It requires a lot of resources, and the other card they have to commit to it is Kagari, and that's also limited. And yeah, loss of interaction, so you're only going to see about 2 or 3 Widow Anchor activations per game unless they decide to use Hercules base and shuffle it back in. In terms of the deck tier, definitely knocked down from its top tier horse to a high tier deck, because as a control deck, losing the ability to maintain control is a very significant impact. So next we have Nightmare Mermaid. So Nightmare Mermaid, well, that is the big loss for Orcust, which means Lunalight Orcust and Cyber Dragon Orcust probably talk like the biggest hit because they can no longer end their combo with the Orcust combo since they relied on the 2 generic monster to start off the combo to get into the Nightmare Phoenix, into the Mermaid, into basically the entire combo, which leaves them with protection and a counter trap. But if you are playing Orcust now, you can still do it, but now you have to commit into monsters like Armageddon Knight to set up the graveyard. You want something to dump something into the graveyard or have some sort of discard outlet just so that you can put the Orcust monsters into the graveyard and then establish a combo from there. I think there is still potential if you can find enough discard outlet. I think Pure Orcust and Danger Orcust, they're still both very playable decks. It's just that you're not ending your board as solid for sure, and you need other engines to support it, and you have to focus the core part of the engine into Orcust rather than generically spamming out 2 random monsters. So that is something for you guys to think about. So Luna Orcust and Cyber Dragon Orcust definitely weakened to the point that I don't think we're going to see very many people play it. You might still see people play Cyber Dragons and Luna Lights, but you might not see the Orcust combo to go with it. There's still a chance that Luna Lights can still do it. It's just that they need to hard draw a couple of cards to set up the Orcust side of things. That being said, final remarks, Pure Orcust, Danger Orcust probably are the 2 most playable variants. They just need discard outlets. The entire Orcust engine is still technically intact, so if you can't break their board, it's still a very grindy matchup, and they can still use this to their advantage to take out cards or decks like Thunder Dragon. Right, for those of you guys who picked up a Thunder Dragon core thinking, hey, maybe I'll pick up a fun deck, well, congratulations, your cards are on the rise in terms of prices. In terms of deck damage, they didn't get any deck damage. In fact, nothing happened to them. They got deck buffed, if anything, because the playstyle shift, first of all, they have to worry less about Dingirzu because not every single deck is going to be having the Orcust combo easy access anymore. And for Sky Striker matchup, you know, they always had that Widow Anchor to turn off your double Thunder Dragon Colossus, but it's okay. Now they only have 1 Widow Anchor, so double Colossus is just as lethal. They need impermanence and something else to keep going, and they won't have a strong ending board anymore for Sky Striker because they only have 1 Widow Anchor, and that's something that they need to hard draw into. So this deck continues to exert lethal pressure against any of your opponent. However, as strong as they are still hit by Megatin cards. They are hit by Nibiru, they're hit by Dark Ruler no more, so that's still keeping them in check. And since Sky Striker and Orcust, 2 of the harder matchups, well, Sky Striker wasn't the harder matchup, Altergeist is probably the harder matchup. Yeah, Altergeist is still here, so well, if in any case, the engine of Thunder Dragon and Thunder Dragon as a deck itself is definitely something that is splashable, and definitely something that I believe to be confirmed top tier, and a lot of people probably share that sentiment. Guard Dragon combo. This is more of an extra deck hit. Unfortunately, Aggro Pain is gone. That means you lose 1 boss monster. The FTK is gone as well because you cannot summon out Raptinus unless you play a lot of Geminis, and we all know what happens if you play a lot of Gemini monsters. Your deck sucks. So, well, until you probably get the new structure deck and maybe find some way to actually reincorporate this FTK rather than hitting Cannon Soldier of all things, of course, to kill the Aggro Pain. Okay, well, Aggro Pain's gone. What happens? Well, Dragon Link is definitely affected. We also have a Danger Crusadia Thunder affected if you're still playing that deck, and Pendulums also got affected because they no longer get that shortcut to go into the Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon. Overall, a loss of a boss monster. How do you replace this boss monster? Well, play Appaloosa. A lot of people did not play Appaloosa. You can maybe find space for the Appaloosa now because you can take out Aggro Pain, and you can also take out the thing that Aggro Pain summons out. That's 2 spots in your extra deck that is freed up, so keep that in mind. And with that being said, it actually readies you if you're going to be playing like Rocket Link, so Rocket Dragon Link. Then you can put in that Striker Dragon, you can put in the IP Masquerade, you can even put in the Avermax, and you want post Chaos Impact, let's put this out there. If you're going to want to kill a control deck, you're going to want to use Avermax plus IP Masquerade because those 2 combined, it is insane. It's basically a BLS. You know BLS? It's basically the BLS Link monster, but a little bit more on steroids because if it gets removed from the field, it also bounces the card back into the deck. But it's not targetable, and it has to be targeted for the attack, so it protects all your other monsters. Even if you don't have a strong field, you have a couple of monsters there just for control, like a Jowgen or something like that. They can't hit that. They have to hit your Avermax, and that's really deadly already. First of all, it cannot be targeted by card effects, which makes it like really good already, and now it can't be destroyed by battle because you boost your attack on the damage jump, which means you will surpass the attack of a Boral Sword. Boral Sword got nothing on you because you're going to buff off of the Boral Sword, basically dealing 3,000 damage to him regardless. And the last little bit I would say is because of IP Masquerade, you are not destroyable by card effect, which means the only way to remove it is to, well, spin it or banish it or whatever. Just put it back into your deck with a non-targeting effect. Heretic Seal is one really good way to get rid of this card. Remember, if you use Heretic Seal and you remove it from the field, I believe you do bounce a card. So yeah, this card is really good combo to take on control decks. So, you know, final remarks, I would say consider trying to run an extra copy of Pisty, because Pisty can revive stuff, and reviving stuff can lead to a chain of events, especially if you use Pisty to revive the Red MD. Red MD didn't get touched on our list, so revive the Red Eyes Darkness Metal, and then from Red Eyes Darkness Metal, summon out your boss's back, like a Boral Sword or something along that line. And Pendulums, of course, they can't shortcut Odd Eyes Vortex. They can still make Odd Eyes Vortex, they just have to do it with a double rank 7 way and then link it off to bring it out. That's basically it. So other decks that you can try right now because of the release of Super Rejuve, I would say try Danger Blue Eyes. Danger Blue Eyes is the one deck that I think can abuse the crap out of Super Rejuve. Super Rejuve draws for every discards of dragons and every single tribute of dragons. So Melody of Awakening Dragon, that's a win right there, because if you discard an egg, that's good. Cards of Constant discards an egg to draw 2 cards. It discards like a 1000 attack or lower dragon tuner, so that's a really good push right there. Trade in as well. Lots of ways to draw cards into drawing more cards. Basically, I think if you can max out an entire chain of draws and you go into Super Rejuve, Super Rejuve, Super Rejuve, you can draw close to 30 cards in one turn if you get to do the Super Rejuve thing over and back to back. So yeah, overall I think it's still a high tier thing. Keep that in mind. There's a lot of potential for this deck. Looking at another one of our winners of this particular ban list, we have Stratos and Malicious at 3. I'm not too sure if they needed the additional consistency, but why not? I feel like this is pretty good. So first of all, there's 3 Malicious now. If you didn't play Malicious in your deck, I think a lot of people might push forward into playing the Malicious, going into the Assault, into the Armageddon Knight, into the double Malicious at the very least, because you'll mill the Malicious with the Armageddon Knight. That's a major plus already. And the Evil Hero stuff, getting 2 free bodies to go into links, or getting the additional Malicious as hero names for fusion material, that's also pretty good, and it's all free basically. So yeah, do with what you will with the information here. Added Malicious, of course, get the old combos, and added consistency because now you have 3 Stratos, one of your main deck searchers. Of course, the search effect is not once per turn. That's pretty nice. Does it feel like it's pay to play? Like, you know that all the hero stuff was super expensive, and it feels like Konami is kind of pushing forward to like, hey, I know you guys spent a lot of money trying to acquire these cards. You know what? We're just gonna unlock a couple more things for you. So these are your added bonuses for the day. It does feel like that. At least that's just my opinion here. Is it a strategic move to move people to play more evil heroes? Sure, why not? But I think with the additional consistency, and since none of their cards really got hit, it might push them to a top tier level because of the added consistency and the added additional plays that are coming from Malicious. Malicious was put to 2 for a reason. That was the whole Summon Sork debacle. Like, oh, I just have a Dark Warrior right here. You know what? That counts as 3 monsters, and I can just link like crazy with those monsters, and I can just keep on extending, and I will not go punished. This is kind of the same deal. You just need 4 equip spells, and boom, Armageddon Knight's on the field. Armageddon Knight's gonna dump a Malicious, and Malicious is just gonna go into Malicious and another Malicious. So yeah, take that information with what you will. Do you think Heroes and Orcust can make a match? Are they a match made in heaven? I don't know. Well, we'll find out if they have enough discard outlet to actually push that through. But anyways, that's what I have to say about Heroes. And of course, I'm not going to leave Gravekeepers out because Gravekeepers now have 3 copies of Royal Tribute. That just kind of is like the new version of, rather, not the new version, it's kind of like the old version of the new version of the old version of Trickstar Hand Loop. So Royal Tribute, locking out your opponent's monsters from the graveyard because Necro Valley has to be face up when you activate this card, so your opponent won't be able to activate anything, and they discard every single monster in their hand. So do you if you're activating it. Is it gonna push people to play Gravekeepers? Well, I'm sure it will, because it is a very degenerate card in the long run, but there are people who play dangers. If you're playing Bigfoot and Thunderbird, well, you're going to be able to pop the Necro Valley, and you're going to be able to pop the card that they set. So there's a big win right there. But there's one thing I want to talk about in terms of ruling for this card. You do not look at your opponent's hand anymore. It doesn't say look at your opponent's hand. All it says is, if you control Necro Valley, both players discards any monster in their hand. Before, you got the quick visual confirmation. There is no visual confirmation for this card, so you're just going to have to take it for your opponent. Discard all monsters in your opponent's hand. I don't have any monsters. Well, like, that's a possibility, but you know, it's pretty easy to keep track of someone that doesn't discard a single card, and just pay attention to how many cards they shuffle. Pay attention to everything they discard if you're going to be playing Gravekeepers, because that's gonna be a very big thing, you know. Just want to keep that in mind. Also, be aware of people that are running this, like this whole Royal Tribute thing might not work very well against, say, Grand Maju deck. Grand Maju decks also did not get touched, so because Grand Maju didn't get touched, they're also one of the top tier decks moving forward, for sure. Because if you discard a Danger Bigfoot and a Thunderbird, it's going to pop basically everything, and you're emptying out your own hands. That's gonna be rough, and all they need to do is play that Golden Castle, and I don't know what's gonna happen afterwards. It's just a bit of a gong show at that point, so keep that in mind. So yeah, in terms of Gravekeepers, well, no real shift on anything. Made the hand loop basically easier, and also people who are playing Gizmek, they can just chain Gizmek and just summon it onto the field, and they might probably have the bigger monster compared to yours, unless you have a Gravekeeper Spy. But yeah, anyways, just kind of deviating now. Time for this last little bit here of what's recognized potential and what are high potential. These are basically top tier to high tier. They can move up and down depending if people discover more and more plays with them, and as the format evolves, things will definitely shift around, but it might be shifting around between these couple of decks or until new products get released. There's also Hakais as well, which are the Unchained. Unchained True Draco is something that I looked into. Didn't seem that powerful just yet, but it could be in here as well. So in terms of recognized potential, we have Thunder Dragon. That's a given. That's probably the winner of this ban list that didn't really get knocked out. Salamangreats did not get touched whatsoever because they probably have new product coming out. So Salamangreats are still running strong. Pendulums, they might have lost the shortcut to their Orcust combo, and they also lost the shortcut to the Odd Eyes Vortex as well. But I'm putting them up there because they still put out a very high pressure board, and they can still go into the Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon through the old school way, the old fashioned way. Altergeist didn't get touched, and therefore they are still pretty much up there. And another winner of the thing that no one really talked about is Grand Maju. Grand Maju decks are still there. Nothing really got ruined for them, so expect to see a lot of people playing Grand Maju. Just be very careful because it plays very differently from most of the other meta decks as well. In terms of high potential, heroes, it's just a given. They have basically unlocked full engines available to them. Sure, they only have one copies of one a hero lives, but you're paying half your life, so be careful with that one. Engage, I guess Sky Striker, you still have triple engage, you still can play Widow Anchor, and some people can only handle so many negates. You might just run more hand traps to kind of mitigate your opponent from being able to play, and that's why you're still up there. And engage to engage is still one of the most annoying things. Orcust, pure Orcust has huge potential as well. They still have Dingirsus, they still have Longirsus, some of the best removals in the game, and one of the grindiest engines available. That's why Orcust, you're still there. Guard Dragon, you guys lost your boss monster, but your combo potential is really high. Rockets, you're getting Striker Dragons. So there's Striker Dragon, there's also Galaxy Satellite Dragon to add to your arsenal as well. And IP Masquerade, you guys can just make some pretty dangerous boards in the end because you guys have them, I think, probably the highest summoning potential of any deck, and has the ability to manipulate your own restrictions. Now for a deck that not a lot of people would say is high tier at the moment, Marine Cess. Marine Cess, once Chaos Impact lands, you're going to be one of the more annoying decks to fight because you're the control / combo / OTK-ish deck, and Marine Cess, you and your Toad manipulation is going to be very, very annoying for a lot of people. And let's not forget about Necro Valley deck, Gravekeepers, because Gravekeepers, let's be honest here. If you look at this list, what does Gravekeeper hurt? Thunder Dragons is a bit of a pain for them. You hurt Salamangreats. You don't really touch Zephyra as much. I guess you kind of do. So yeah, if they have Dark Worm or anything, you send it to the grave, they can't really revive it. Altergeist is probably the one deck that you don't really hurt. Although it does hurt if you take away their multi-figure, put it to the graveyard, but they can easily retrieve it with traps. Grand Maju, I think Grand Maju decks you do hit if you hit all their monsters, but in other words, if you hit their dangers on the other hand, they might just blow you out. You might just actually activate Royal Tribute to blow up all your own cards, so that's probably one matchup that's not very good. Heroes, pretty good against heroes as well. Sky Striker, pretty bad because they're mainly spells. Orcust, you stop them from banishing anyway. Guard Dragons, they have no dragons to play with. And Marine Cess, they can't start their combo. So Gravekeepers have that potential to knock out most of the combo-oriented decks on this list. So yeah, take that with what you will. And that's all I got for this damage report. Is this ban list enough for you guys? Is it what you guys wanted? Sky Strikers definitely didn't take a major hit, but they definitely lost a lot of control. And double Widow Anchor plays, being able to draw into your Widow Anchors, open with your Widow Anchors. If you don't open with both Widow Anchor nor an Engage, you're kind of done. It's basically over. But luckily Engage is still at 3, so you can still fetch out most of these cards. But yeah, it seems like life's a lot more reserved. You're basically playing on extreme mode on scarce resource. But anyways, that's all I got. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit me with a thumbs up. If you guys still haven't subscribed yet, that's a slow play warning for you guys on my channel. So make sure you hit subscribe. If you don't, then you'll have to hit the notification bell too. That's how you appeal my ruling. And that's all I got for this video. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Nishi's probably got a market watch coming up for the crazy price fluctuations coming.